This is More Than Money with Mappalo Maku. Brought to you by Sasfin Wealth.
Welcome to More Than Money. I'm Mappalo Maku, a personal finance columnist, and I love having money conversations that change people's perspective about finances. Why am I doing this podcast, you might ask? To talk about money. Not the paper stuff. I mean the baggage, the feeling, the emotional, heart-wrenching stuff. We find this conversation so uncomfortable to have, which is why on this podcast, I have decided to have this very difficult conversations. We are going to have some difficult discussions because better money conversations lead to better money confidence, and healthy money dialogue leads to healthy money decisions. Today, my guest is Busisiwe Mathe. She is a seasoned business leader focusing on human-centric digital transformation, cybersecurity, data privacy, governance, and leadership acceleration. That is a mouthful. Thank you so much for joining me today, Busisiwe.
Thank you for having me.
I want to talk about money today. You are someone who studied tax and accounting. Is that not so?
Yes, I did. I'm a CA by qualification, so I should understand finances.
Yes. I have friends who are CAs as well, right? You can tell me about the balance sheet, you can tell me about the income statement, IFRS, all of that. But it's completely different when it comes to managing your own money. Is that something that you've realized as well?
That is very true. I often say, when you're looking for a loan, when you're applying for something, they always say, can you do your balance sheet?
Yes.
And you must ask your CA friends how many of them can actually sit down and do their personal balance sheet. So it's very easy to do it for a corporate. It's very easy to do it for somebody else. When it comes to your personal things, taking account of what assets you have, what liabilities you actually have, and what cash you have, that becomes a bit tricky because you sometimes don't know where everything is, or you kind of have an idea, but you actually haven't sat down and wrote everything down.
Yeah, it reminds me of, normally when I do my talks, I often ask people, do you have a budget? And everyone says, yes, I have a budget. And I'm like, okay, can you send me your budget right now? And people look at me like, then I often say, you clearly do not have a budget. You have a mental note of what is happening. If it's not written down somewhere, it's actually not a budget. So why do you think that it's so hard to take a look at your own personal finances?
Maybe let's start with people. Maybe people were not taught about money at a young age. You grow up seeing food being put on the table, you get Christmas clothes for some of us, you see your parents changing the car, you're not sitting at the table and hearing conversations that are happening around money. So you grow up very unaware of what money is, what money can do, and actually how money can also not be good for you.
Yeah.
So you grow up and you get to school, you get to university, and you're lucky like me, you study to be an accountant. And what you taught is to look at somebody else's finances in those classes. As a CA, it's about making sure the integrity of somebody else's accounts. So you grow up thinking, I don't have anything, I haven't seen anything about money, I haven't heard anything about money. You go study, and what you're studying says, how do you help other people with their money? It's never saying, taking a step back and say, okay, but what does it mean for me?
Yeah.
How do I apply what I've learned into my own life?
Now, let's take it back to how you grew up, right? Take us back to a young Busisiwe growing up. I would assume it's in the Val?
Nope.
No, okay.
That part is not on my LinkedIn. So I grew up in the Free State.
Yeah.
A very small town called Peritona is in Helbron.
Yeah.
And everybody who knows me, I joke about it. You blink, you miss it. Yes, so it is a very small town. So I grew up there, an only child to my mom and dad, but my mom who ran a business. And actually that's where initially my love for finance started.
Yes.
Because I saw my mom leaving her formal employment to start running, then it was called her own, a general dealer, where she literally sold every single thing that anybody would need, even if it wasn't part of what she wanted to sell. But if 2 or 3 customers came looking for the same thing, she saw, oh, there is a need to actually start selling this. So that's where, for me, that's where I grew up, and that's where really my finance, my understanding around money started.
What were the conversations around your house when it comes to money between your mom and dad? Do you remember those?
I remember them so clearly. I actually can hear them in my head as I speak to you. So I had a dad who worked out of town, about 100 kilometers away from home. I was very fortunate. I'm actually still very fortunate that I was one of those kids that sat on the table with their parents and would discuss things. I didn't understand why they did that then, but now I'm actually very grateful for those conversations. Wow. They would put an issue on the table. It would be discussed. Sometimes I didn't even have anything to say because it was just above my age. Yes. But then at the end, you'd be like, okay, do you agree? Until all 3 of us are in agreement, we're not going to move forward.
That is incredible.
So that, and when I take that back to money, I remember my mum saying that, full-time employment is good, but she was working very long hours. She wasn't spending time with me a lot. And she just said she's always wanted to start a business. She remembers her grandmother growing up in Lesotho selling stuff the side of the road and how they never lacked. There was always money at the house. So she would get paid on the 25th, maybe by the 15th. There wasn't enough money, waiting for the next paycheck. And she said,
that's the reality for a lot of South Africans.
It is
right now.
It is. That actually the 15th is too far.
Yeah.
Some people.
One of the studies, it shows that 5 days within payday, a lot of people are waiting for the next paycheck.
Yes. So I remember hearing my mom say that and saying, when you run your own business, you can actually control so much about money. And you actually learn how to manage income and expenses because you're in charge. So I remember I was about 5 or 6. And that's when my mom left her formal employment. And she said she's going to open a general dealer. And I remember going with my parents to go look at few properties that they were looking at, and the discussion around, are we buying or renting? I didn't even understand what that meant.
The difference.
And how my mom, in those conversations, my dad said it's better to buy so that if you get out of the business later, at least you can sell it and have an asset you can rent out. I mean, this, as I mentioned, I didn't really understand what that is, but the older I got, the more conversation took place. And when my mum came back from the shop in the evenings, she'd come and count money, and I'd be there counting money with her. And she had a spreadsheet, and she had the till, the old tills where you could have a roll that shows this is how much you should have made, counting all that. This is how much is missing. It doesn't balance. Talking about, okay, we need to go buy stock in 2 days, and writing that. She was actually handwriting it. She had a book writing, this is the income, this is the stock we're going to buy. Okay, this is what you're going to spend at home. So then I started seeing what money can do or how dangerous money is, because the older I got, when things were exciting, when everybody's buying Dr. Martens, when everybody's buying pepper jeans, I wanted those, but where did they have to come from? So my mom started showing me, okay, this is the profit. If you want to take this money, I'm going to give you 300 Rand to go buy these things. But just look at what I can't buy stock, therefore I can't sell, therefore we can't make the same profit. And for me, that's the money memory where I sat down, decisions were being made, and I actually had to experience seeing my mum counting the money, showing me, if you want that chocolate when we're at the shop, this is what it means. We're going to have to forego something else.
That is incredible. I mean, where did your mom and dad get that type of mentality, do you think, to include you in the conversation? Have you ever spoken about it as you got older to say, why would you have these conversations with me?
So my dad always says he believes in experiential learning. So you need to experience something. His belief was that he never got the opportunity with his parents because, the older generation, the dad was never there, only came once in a while, and he keeps saying that he wanted his kids to actually be part of whatever decisions were being made. They need to understand why they were being made because they will have a huge impact on you later in life, because certain decisions that were made for him in that era had such a huge negative impact, and he said he didn't want to pass that on to the next generation. And from my mum, she said she just remembers her grandmother involving her so much because she was the eldest grandchild.
Yes,
So she was the one who was sent to go buy stock. She was the one who would help Granny go to the corner to set up her stall to go sell things. So for her, it was just normal. That's how. So one, it was from a psychological perspective, and one was just, this is the only thing I knew.
Now you are a corporate woman. You are a woman who works for herself and you're making big waves. So the essence of or the experience is completely different in that there is surplus, if you can call it that. How do you teach your kids to be responsible young people and even adults when there is surplus?
That's so important. So with my kids, I've actually started sharing what I was taught as a child. And I'm quite fortunate that I have a partner who grew up in a similar environment where they understood the importance of money and how being irresponsible with money, how that could impact a family unit.
Yeah.
So we're quite fortunate that both of us come from a very similar background when it comes to money.
And the same value
same value system from a money perspective. So I've told my kids money is important and you need to respect money. So the conversations I'm having with I've got 12-year-old twin boys,
Yes.
is teaching them around the value of money. So how do you earn money? What does earning money mean? They have debit cards because now all kids now have bank accounts at a young age. But then every time they spend that money, they need to understand how that money got into the account. And it's amazing how many kids still struggle with the concept that money just doesn't come into the bank. Somebody worked, somebody deposited money. So we're teaching them on a monthly basis, we give you an allowance and we're not going to give it to you in cash. We'll give you some in cash. Most of it will put in the bank.
Yes.
You're teaching them that money is just not going to end up on your lap. There's certain things that you need to do. So they have certain chores that they need to do for them to earn their money. Then they earn the money. And when they use the money, they actually need to be responsible with using the money. You can use it on anything you want to, but think about whether that thing gives you instant gratification or it's something that's a long term.
Yeah.
So if they want to buy sneakers.
Dr. Martens are back in style, by the way.
I saw, hey. So what they do, then they save up for that. So they'll say, we want sneakers and this is how much they cost. They go do the research. This is how much they cost. So you start saving your money to go use it to buy your sneakers at a later stage.
Yes.
And obviously there's some negotiation. Mom, can you please help us with that? So we're trying to instill it now at a young age to show them the value of money and how you earn money and how you use money has an impact. And sometimes it's okay to get into instant gratification buying, but just know that you can't continuously do that.
Yes.
Because that's where I believe most people struggle with. I've seen a handbag I wanted, now I'm going to buy it.
Without giving
thought to the bigger picture of, okay, but if I buy it now, what is the impact for this month, for the next few months?
Yes. So let's go back to when you finished your degree. You are a CA now and, it's big bucks when you start working. Not really. But I mean, for a student who's you just finished university and you're starting your first job, you don't have that many responsibilities. It is a significant bump into your pocket. What did you do with your money? Do you remember your first big paycheck, if you can call it that?
My first paycheck, I had to pay. My parents had bought me a car, so I had to pay for my car.
Yes.
I had to pay for rent. And I remember then actually forgetting the lessons my parents taught me about income, expenditure. A bit needs to be left to be put away.
Yeah.
That was my parents. Income, expenditure.
You must still have something left.
And over and above that, my mom said, as a woman, you must actually even have something left that nobody else knows about.
I love your mom. Tell her that for me.
And I must admit, the first month, 2 or 3, the excitement got to me. I can now stop buying at certain shops because now I have a salary. I can start buying at certain shops. Now I can go open accounts because now I have a paycheck. So I kind of, at the beginning, got into that. And I thank God for my mom because she then came back and she says, I'm so happy you're doing well.
Yes.
what is in your bank account? That's a simple question. What is
What
in your bank account? She says, what in your bank account? That is yours.
Yes.
Not that's the bank's. That is yours.
And what was your response?
Initially, I was very embarrassed because that was what I was taught from, as I said, 6, 7. And when I reached my 20s and got into the big city,
And
had a great life and the excitement of it and the going out, then I realized if I carry on at this trajectory, I am not going to be able to make decisions that I want to make at later in life. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I knew I needed to have the basis first before I become an entrepreneur. So I felt I was actually cheating myself from a potential dream I had then of one day leaving corporate to really become an entrepreneur. So that really changed my mind because I was stealing a dream from myself.
Yes. What do you think she saw happening in your life then when she was like,
I think she saw my spending habit. Every time I went home, I'd go with a new outfit. I'd go with a new handbag.
Yes.
I'd talk about all these new places I've tried that I've always wanted to try, but I could never get into when I was at Wits at university because I couldn't afford to.
Yes.
I think as a mother, I believe there's certain things you see that the world doesn't see. So she saw that, but I think she also started seeing behind what was in my face, the worry. It was part of a conversation around my dream. So what do you want to do once you qualified? What do you see yourself doing?
Yes.
Where do you want to end up? And is the lifestyle you're living now going to get you there? And then she brought in the money issue, and my dad just said there. My dad was the one who actually said, your lifestyle is becoming a typical Joburg young 20s girl who is just wants to live her life for the now, not for the future.
Your parents are incredible.
I am very blessed, and that's why for me I think it's so important as not even parents, as godparents, as aunts, as we actually start teaching young ones, as young as they are, doesn't matter how old they are, 5-year-olds that walk into a shop that want to throw a tantrum because they want a chocolate, and you're saying no. You actually don't say no to the chocolate. Explain to them why you're saying no to the chocolate. Show them the money. This is what it's going to do. We only have this. Do you want to have this now, or do you want to go on holiday later? Because you like going to Gold Reef City with your friends. So if I buy you a chocolate now, there's a trade-off. You're taking away from.
That is incredible. So I'm thinking about you as a 20-something-old young woman in Johannesburg making what seemingly big bucks then. And you have this conversation with your parents. So they bring you back to life, basically. How do you go back adjusting to a person who's thinking about their dreams? Especially when you have colleagues and friends whom you're accustomed to this lifestyle. How do you adjust back to say, no, I have dreams, I have goals. Let me just, come back down to earth?
I think you need to know yourself. You need to be comfortable with who you are.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's very easy to stay in that world that is not going to be your permanent world. So I was quite fortunate because a few of my friends, I went back and I said, guys, can you imagine what Mama and Papa said? Like, hello, these people, they don't understand Joburg life. You need to have wine on a Friday. You need to go out for lunch on a Sunday.
Sundowners
after work, all the life. And one of my friends who's known my parents for very long, since we started varsity, said, it's actually true, friend.
Sure.
It is actually so true. We keep on saying, we're going to be the generation that's better. Each generation should be better than the previous generation. So if we continue doing this, we're actually not going to be better than the next generation. So I think her and I kind of looked at each other and we said, okay, we can still live this life, but we just need to tone it down.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you can't go out. You can still go out, but you don't have to go to the most expensive place.
And you don't have to do it every
You don't have to date every
weekend.
single weekend. You don't have to buy the most expensive bottle of wine.
Yes.
You don't have to go buy clothes every month, So you can still do it, but limit it. So what we started doing, and I laughed earlier when we had a conversation, you said, people say they have a budget, but when you say, show me your budget. So we said, okay, we're going to start doing a budget.
Yeah.
I'm not very good with a budget. I know exactly how much I need to save. So what I started doing, I said, okay, this is how much I earn. And then we used to get travel allowance. So you'd get your salary, but mid-month you get a travel allowance. So I said, I'm going to live on my salary. My travel allowance must be the money I save.
That you save, yes.
Because if I don't travel, I go to the office every day. I need to make sure I have enough money.
Yes.
But if I go out to clients and I get the travel allowance, that's like a bonus that I'm not expecting. So start saving that. So we still lived a comfortable life, still doing what we wanted to do, toning it down, as he's saying, not doing it all the time.
Yes.
And going to people's houses. We actually realized my 2-bedroom is actually a fun place to have friends and have pizza and have drinks, as opposed to going out somewhere. So we're still doing the same things, but just changing how we were doing them, and actually started enjoying the places we're paying so much rent for, enjoying them with our friends, because you realize, let's rather go to your house, order in pizza,
and just chill there.
And just chill there and have fun.
Yeah. How has that been good for you as you went throughout your life?
I mean, the first thing I think I've spoken about, and I see this happen with a lot of young people, as soon as you get an increase, your lifestyle changes drastically.
Yes.
One of the things I've always done, I didn't live up to that.
Wow.
So the creeps didn't creep me. They didn't really get hold of me because I knew what I wanted to do. And I guess it starts with a dream. So if you don't have a dream and you're just working for the sake of working and you don't know what you want to do when you get to your 30s, when you get to your 40s, when you get to your 50s, then the money just follows that which you don't have in your mind. So for me, I had a dream. I sound like Martin Luther King now.
I have a dream.
So I had a dream, and I knew for me to walk into that dream at some point in my life, my finances need to be so sorted that even if I don't earn a salary for 2 years, I will still maintain my lifestyle.
Yes.
And for me, that was the most important thing. In my late 20s, every time I got more increases, better opportunities, my lifestyle didn't change to that amount.
Yes.
It adjusted a bit, but not fully. So I still made sure that I'm saving. If we bought a house, my husband and I would agree, this bond, we're going to squash it in less than 5 years because it's important for us to not have debt so that we can follow our dreams and we are free to do. And as I said, we didn't change our lifestyle. We still went on holidays. I still bought the shoes I wanted, but I'd buy them on sale. You know, I say that to people now. It's like, people are like, but you're still going away. Your kids are still going to the schools that you have chosen. And I said, because I planned for that. We planned. And I'm quite, as my partner and I planned for these. And as we were growing in different stages, as you're saying, you know, in your 30s, you want something else. You still live your life with the luxuries that you want, but you just plan around them. I promise you, I'm one of the few people that knows when the sales are. I know exactly when to buy what. The book you told me about is 15% off if you buy it immediately, delivered tomorrow. See, and that doesn't take away from the comforts I have.
Absolutely.
It's just planning ahead. So I've just maintained, don't let the creeps really get to you.
But it takes such a consciousness, right? And I love what you said. It's all about knowing yourself. And I think, you know, what I've seen as a theme in this podcast is people who've done well with their money, they always reflect back on knowing self. And it's such a different picture when you think about money, because you're thinking money, you need to work hard. As an entrepreneur, you need to keep on pushing business. All of these things, yes, that can be true. But I feel like the theme that I've seen is every single person who has been successful has said, I had to come back down to earth. I had to come back down to knowing myself. I had to come back down to drafting my goals and saying, this is what I want for myself.
Yeah. I mean, it starts with self. It's such a personal journey that if you're not grounded, you can actually get lost. So you need to go back to either your first memory, and I say this to the people I coach, what is your first memory of anything? Is it racism, money, anything? Because that first memory actually
forms
part of your core. And could be negative. Some people's money stories are so negative that they have to work so hard, but they've realized why I am the way I am, because I come from a family where I just saw my parents just swiping all the time. So I wanted this swipe, but didn't understand what that card meant.
Yeah.
So how do you then change that to a positive thing? So for me, it's always going back to, and I say it's dreams, it's who you are, what you want to achieve. Because if that is really grounded when it comes to money, you can have 1 billion, it will mean nothing. You can have 1 million, it will mean nothing. You can have 100,000, it will mean nothing, because those 3 people with those 3 different amounts could live a fulfilling life, but differently.
Absolutely.
You are listening to More Than Money, a podcast collaboration brought to you by Sasfin Wealth. At Sasfin Wealth, we empower our clients to reach their global investment goals, to retire with dignity, and to leave a lasting legacy. If you would like to have real money conversations, visit sasfin.com/wealth and talk to us. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
So now let's talk about when, you've been in corporate for a very long time, excelling, you're on boards, and you decided, you know what, I'm going to start my own company. I'm going to leave this cushy job that pays very well and start my own company. What was that about?
I must say I missed the SMSs on the 25th. Have you seen on the 24th and 25th, everybody get SMSs?
Ding, ding.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I haven't yet received an SMS. So as I said, it's been a dream of mine. It's been a dream. And when I became a parent, it became even stronger, because I didn't want my kids to think an 8-to-5 job is the only way to live your life. So it was a dream. And when I became a parent, it became even more of a dream that I had to do earlier, because I thought I'd do it in my 50s. And in the middle of COVID, the year I turned 40, I decided,
this is it.
This is it.
And I mean, what an incredible time to say, this is it. We are in the middle of a pandemic.
But for me, it was, I'm going to do this. There isn't a right time. Financially, I had ticked all the boxes. So one of the first things I did with my husband, we sat down, we said, okay, what do we have? We don't have any debt. Tick. Good. We have savings, we have investments. So you can actually pursue this.
Yeah.
This is the right time. So as I said, it started as a dream long time ago. It wasn't something I just woke up and said, so nice being an entrepreneur. It's hard. I think, it's not an easy, you don't know when you're next.
It's gut-wrenching sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is, because you work hard. You're doing different things. But for me, the important thing was that it's a dream that was there, that my kids, when they were born, became even more apparent, because I just wanted them to see different, because I saw different and I saw what it did for me. And I did it in the midst of COVID. And it is rewarding. It's hard work. But I'd encourage anybody who wants to get into the space first, go back to your finances. Really make sure that financially, because you're going to end up doing so many things you don't want to do, but you're doing them because I just need that SMS. You're under pressure from a financial perspective.
Yes. And I think that's such an important point to make, that if you do want to go on that journey, get your finances in order first.
Yes.
Because it can be very frustrating on the other side when, the funds start running out or trying up. You end up doing things out of desperation.
Yes.
And you don't want to do things out of desperation.
No, you don't. I mean, people often ask me, why did you leave such a cushy job with such amazing prospects? And I said, because I'm on a journey to self-discovery and to my purpose. And I really believed I had served my purpose at the organization I was at. Now I need to serve my purpose that is bigger than that organization. And the decisions I'm making now and the opportunities I'm getting involved in now are actually in alignment to my purpose. So imagine if I was in debt and opportunities came, I would probably end up taking anything and getting frustrated and eventually saying this is not working.
Absolutely.
And as you know, as an entrepreneur, you invoice today, you might get paid
2 months later.
2 months later. So how do you then still manage that now in your life, with your lifestyle, do you then go back to that kitty that I spoke about? Or do you then move things around? So it's important to really, for me, if there's one gift I could give everybody, would be financial freedom. Because once you have financial freedom, you get to do so many other things. You actually start living your purpose. You start living in your passion because you're now doing stuff that you love doing. And it will take a while before you get rewarded for it.
Yes.
But when you start getting
you're at
rewarded
ease
for
also.
it, you're at ease, you're at peace. You sleep at night.
Sure. When was it where you felt like, you know what, maybe I got it wrong? Maybe I should have just stayed at my job. Have you ever felt like that since you left your corporate job?
I have. I call them monkeys. I have lots of monkeys on my back. So there's lots of, I'm a Gemini, so there's lots of ones whispering, you're doing it wrong. Why do you do it? So I left my job in July 2021.
Yes.
In my head, I was going to take a sabbatical for 6 months.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. I can't sit and do nothing. And I started then, looking at opportunities. And every single conversation I had in those first 6 months, literally nothing came out of it. Well, except for one board position. But everything. And I came, obviously I was on a high when I left corporate.
Yes,
I've got this thing. I know what I'm doing. People know who Busi is. I've got
They
contacts.
Yes.
But the most amazing thing, Busi was Busi. People, when I spoke, people still spoke about the old organization I worked for, because they couldn't disassociate me with that. So every time for sure, come see me. And as soon as you start talking about, I'm on my own. People would, and so I remember that Jan, the next year,
so
I actually said, after 6 months, I actually said, I don't think I made the right decision. I don't think this is really worth it.
Sure.
And my husband said, but why? And I said, money's not coming. But he said, but we spoke about the fact that money's not going to come immediately.
And that's the reality of it.
That's the reality of it. So why? And I couldn't answer it. And he said, well, if it's just only money, then everything you've said to me that we've spoken about, that you instilling in the kids, then you make me question what you've been talking about. Sure. So going back to who you are again. So he reminded me of that. And I was like, sure, actually, that is so true. He goes, give it time. And you didn't say you leave in corporate forever. You said you're going to go onto this journey. You don't know how long it's going to be. And I don't think you've given it enough time. 6 months is a sprint. You've sprinted. You haven't even started the journey. So give it time.
Having the right people in your corner, having people who know you.
I call them my tribe.
Yes.
I don't call them my people. So I have, and I'm quite blessed to have a few of my friends that were entrepreneurs before me, that had walked the journey, and some that have actually started the journey after me. And I call them a tribe because they are the ones who actually help you when you're feeling like, guys, this is tough. This doesn't work. And we always sit and we remind each other why we're doing it. So the why has become more important, which goes to your values, your purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? And I remember my mentor saying to me, by doing this, you're not going to be a multi-billionaire. So you need to decide what's important. Is money, is that more important, or is you living in your purpose and having the lifestyle that you want to have at each phases of your life, in your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s, that you envision for yourself important? Because you can still achieve that as an entrepreneur, even though you're not a multi-billionaire.
Yes.
So I do have mentors that are amazing. I've got my tribe. That's amazing because we constantly remind each other. When there are opportunities, we tell each other of the opportunities. We introduce each other to our circles. So it's very important. As an entrepreneur, one of the things is, as you say, relationships are actually what unlocks lots of opportunities.
Absolutely. Besides, of course, your early 20s, are there any regrets when it comes to your finances?
Not really. You're talking about big decisions, not minor.
I talked a little bit more than, you're on holiday, as I always do. I have a budget for a holiday. Then I get there, then it's...
I know. Not those.
That's my one weakness, for sure.
But those we're not talking about those. You're talking about like very big decisions that you've, from a financial...
Yes.
Not really. And you know why? Because I will research. I'm called the negotiator in the family. A car is not bought without me being there because I will negotiate to the lowest interest rate. I will go find the third, second quote.
Yes.
Because for me, I'm not attached to a brand. So if there's a car we want, it's a 7-seater. I'm going to go find a 7-seater that's reliable, that can be fixed, that's got garages around. So I'm very practical with things like that.
Yes.
So when you buy a house, I sit around, I look at the pricing around. I don't mind paying for the $750 that estate agents get access to show how much the houses in the area have been bought or sold for. And then I make decisions based on that. And here's a simple example. I'm planning a holiday in December.
Yes.
It's actually embarrassing, but I actually want people to really understand the power of really going deeper into things and just not spending your money. So for December, we're going away. We're doing a little road trip. And before I book something, I go onto 4 websites.
Yes.
I go into Airbnb, I go into bookings.com, I go into Adoga, Lekker Slap.
Yes.
And can I tell you, sometimes all those 4 have different prices. The same place, same room, same experience. I will pay 500 Rand less.
Oh, wow.
I do that. It takes me 15, and I love it. So I don't do it because I've always been doing that. I love doing that.
It's in you.
It's in me.
Yes.
So that's why when you say, do you have regrets? It's minor regrets where I walked past a shop. I saw a dress. I
caught my eye.
That was really made for me. And they get in, they're like, it's on your size that's left. It's like, definitely, thank you, God, it's for me. You buy that. So those are little things. But when it comes to big decisions about money.
So you're not impulsive when it comes to big decisions.
No,
you sit down.
I'm not.
You research. You negotiate even.
And I ask questions. So even at the kids' school, I'll ask questions. Does the second child get a discount?
Yes.
You know, questions that people think, you can't ask because then people will think you can't afford
What do you think
the
is
school.
about money where people are embarrassed to have those type of conversations?
People are embarrassed to ask for the discounts or to even ask a simple question.
Yes.
I've got 2 kids. Does the second child get a discount?
Yeah.
That doesn't say anything about your money. That just says you're just one person who wants to be empowered because knowledge is power. So I think people don't do that anymore because people want to be perceived to be in a certain class, to be seen as people that have it all. Yeah. So I think people don't do that. And I'm not embarrassed to do it.
I'm definitely not embarrassed.
I'm actually not embarrassed, and I think it's empowering.
Yeah.
And people actually respect you for that.
What are some of your fears about money that you still have?
Fear that I don't have enough. Fear that I'm not saving enough. And this is a conversation I had with a very dear friend of mine saying, Chomi, what if these kids want to go study overseas?
Yep.
Can we actually do it without getting into debt? Can we freely do it?
Yes.
And then now I had to go back and say, my kids are 12. In 5 years, 6 years' time, there's a possibility
that they will want to study abroad.
This might be my reality.
Yes.
So what am I doing? That kitty is there, but that kitty is not going to be for 4 years times 2 in the UK and the US or wherever they want to go study, if they want to. So I guess for me, it's fear of not having enough.
And also that impacts your retirement, right?
That impacts your retirement. So am I still going to retire at 55, Franschhoek at a wine farm? Maybe not if my kids want to go overseas. But what can I start? So I have fear, but then what I've learned to do through my meditation and through a lot of stuff that I do is how do I then take that fear and actually convert it into a positive thing? So I fear, what if my kids? But what if their rent plummets? What if this happens? What if this happens? I fear what's going to happen to my retirement because it's all based on all these other underlying things. So then I worry about that. But then I go back and say, okay, maybe I should then start looking, should I start investing outside of the country where if the rand goes down, it means other currencies have gone up. So how do I counterbalance that? So I have lots of fears. I promise you, as I said, I've got monkeys in my head that tells me that I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I shouldn't even be speaking to you right now about money because what do I know about money? I've got a book on the side of my bed. I wake up in the middle of the night and I write all these things down. And then I check them in the morning. It's like, this I can do, this I can start saving, I can do this, this one, like the rent going down, literally I have no control. I can think I have control. I have no control, but what do I have control over? And really start working through what I have control over rather than letting that fear paralyze me.
Yeah.
And to the point where I was like, I might as well spend the money because it doesn't really matter, you know.
True.
What if
true.
another pandemic comes and we all die? So let's spend the money. No.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you still hope for in the next 5 years, 10 years?
I hope for wealth, and not just financial wealth, mental wealth, spiritual wealth, and being grounded in who I am for me and for my family, especially my 2 boys, for them to know how powerful they are. For my country, I hope we realize how powerful we are and we start actually using the resources, the intellect that we have to become that nation, because we're on the cusp of that. We just need to start believing it and walking into it.
We do. Busi, thank you so much. You've been such a delight. I've learned so much from you. And thank you for gracing us with your presence today.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing.
This was a Sasfin Wealth podcast. Visit sasfin.com/wealth for more information.